People, my people. Ha! Yep. Today, having crossed the northern border and gone and had that wonderful manly spirits Australian dry gin, I've decided to go west, young man. I've gone to South Australia. And today I give you the green ant gin. Now, there's a couple of contradictions. Green tree ants are actually not native to South Australia. Okay, they're a tropical creature. I should know because I'm actually from the tropics. I was born in Mackay. Spent my childhood eating the insects that you may well see floating in this particular bottle. Okay, so we'll get a little contradiction. The gin itself is distilled in Adelaide. The green tree ants are harvested in the top end, likely somewhere around Darwin. So, it's a real gin. It's 42%. It's got a burn. Now, let's go for the sound of happiness. I know you're waiting for it. Sound of happiness. Let's hear it, people. Yep. Sound of true happiness. Whenever I hear that sound, I just start relaxing on the spot. Let's hear it again. You know you want to. Okay. Nose. Nose is really quite crisp. I imagine, although it doesn't say it, it's actually a dry gin. Yeah, it doesn't say it at all, but this sucker's got the, well, not sucker, this beautiful gin. It's got all the characteristics of a dry gin. Very simple nose. Yep. There's not a lot happening in the palate. It's like a lot of dry gins. I'm calling it a dry gin. It's not a terribly complex creature. There's not a lot happening. Having said this, the blurb says that there's lime and coriander. Okay. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Sound of happiness. I'm going to add a bit of this to my glass with my ice cube. Good measure. I generally take my gin about 50-50. You can see a fair bit of research went into this baby before I decided to sit down and do a review. People will book it drinking something that's got ants in it. In this case of why, a good tequila will have a worm in the bottom of it. So I'm going to have it with my usual Fever Tree Indian tonic water. So 50%. I've got the insects floating. Going to add my tonic into it, and let's see what happens to this baby. Okay. The citrus is far more pronounced. Straight up and down. Doing a whiff test. Nose in bottle, now nose in glass. Yeah, the citrus is certainly much more pronounced. Yeah, it basically does what the bottle says. Okay. There are, and let me add to prove to you that I'm literate. And the blurb on the bottle says windy times August to September. So I'll lead up to the monsoon. It gets pretty windy in the top end. When given how much further north than Mackay that this is harvested from, it likely gets a fair bit windier. When it blows, we feast on the floodplains. Stingrays are plentiful, and the bum gets fed on the green bush ant. Hand-picked during the big wind time by the Larrakia people, native green ants give this gin fresh lime and coriander flavors. So, big state. This would be about the only gin I've come across that actually has a Indigenous stake in it. So the Larrakia people, love your work. Let's support Indigenous Australians because let's face it, we've spent the last 200 and something years screwing these people over. So yeah, that's a good stake. Apart from that, it's very drinkable. Like I say, it's a dry gin. Very, very, you know, let's say very clean, but there's a distinct aftertaste. Now, I know the aftertaste is not green tree ants. I'm from Mackay. I spent an awful lot of my time as a kid eating these particular insects and getting bitten in places that are not best shown on polite videos, because I always spent half my childhood climbing mango trees and the other half of my childhood falling out of them. I was actually raised in a little town called Walkerston. Big shout out to the people at Walkerston who are watching this one. Folks, it's been a long time since I was resident in 12 South Bowl Street, down near the dump. It's been a very long time since I was resident, but there's a whole lot of mango trees up near the bridge on the Pete Downs Highway. You come through Walkerston, you go around the bend, you turn right, and there's a massive mango tree that was last there that was about better part of 30 meters tall. I spent half my childhood skydiving out of that, either of my own volition or being thrown out of it by my brother. So, and that tree was full of green tree ants. So I know that the aftertaste is not the green tree ant because I'm rather familiar with the taste. Yeah, it's the lime and coriander I'm tasting. I had ikan bakar. I had Indonesian baked fish for dinner tonight. And there was a fair bit of coriander involved in that, and that's what I'm tasting. Now, the fat kid. Glad you mentioned him. Thank you. Yes, you. Yes, you with the beautiful smile. Thank you for mentioning the fat kid. What's the fat kid done? Excuse me. The fat kid's just burped. Lots of nice Indonesian spices. As my dinner comes back to visit me. The fat kid has definitely fallen off the seesaw. Okay. There's no doubts about it. It's a very drinkable gin. Very, very drinkable gin. Is it as drinkable as some of the other dry gins? More likely not. It's not as drinkable as the Spirit Lot's House Pour or Brogan's Way, Everyday Salvation. It's not that drinkable as a dry gin. Having said that, if you want something to go impressing the locals with, well, your friends with, you can see that I do have insects floating in my glass, and they are the real deal. I gave one to my eldest this evening, and we went, "Oh, gee, Dad, that tastes odd." I said, "Well, no, son, you've eaten a green tree ant. You can be a real man." And he looked at me and called me an idiot and walked off. Buy it because there's that factor to it. Buy it because, well, it's a dry gin. It's incredibly drinkable. I mean, there's nothing sophisticated about these gins. They do little things like this one messes with coriander and lime on the end of it. It's got drink ants. It involves the Indigenous people, the Larrakia people, and that kind of like stacks it in my favour a bit. Like I say, we spent the last 200 years screwing these people over. It's about time we actually employed them in something other than menial positions, and these guys seem to be doing that. So the Green Ant gin, which is out of Kent Town, which would be a suburb of Adelaide. Please don't crucify me for not knowing where this is in Adelaide. The last time I was in Adelaide, I had a very serious question to pose to the locals. I had tried West End beer and asked the locals that I had a very serious question, and they all looked at me and went, "What?" And I said, "This beer," and they said, "Yeah," and I said, "Just one overwhelming question when it comes to West End beer," and they go, "What's that?" And I said, "How do you get kangaroos to pee in bottles? Because this has got to be kangaroo piss." It was vile. So the last little wonder I haven't been back to Adelaide since. Okay, I asked the big question. They didn't like the question I asked, so they banned me from Adelaide. Having said that, I can imagine there are worse things, such as West End beer made in Adelaide, than this baby. It's about $8 a bottle. If that kid's falling off the seesaw, it's got the novelty aspect of the green tree ants in it. It's got lime and coriander on the aftertaste. It goes really well with the tonic water. And because it's a dry gin, what's not to like? I'm Odin. You have just become a subscriber like 87 other people have. Now, I think that's something worth celebrating. Get yourself a good gin to celebrate this baby. Don't drink more, drink better quality, less hangovers. But above all, you subscribe. Okay? Now I know you guys out there, and it's overwhelmingly guys, you know a good thing when you hear it. So tell your mates, this is the good gin. This is the good news. These are the world's best reviews. I'm Odin. You're going to go for the subscription button. I know it. I'll see you next week with another fascinating artisan gin.